We have already covered the difficulty of finding the freedoms and advantages, the impermanence of life, the defects of samsara, and actions, the principle of cause and effect. We now move to the next chapter. First, Patrul Rinpoche pays homage to his root guru, Jigme Gyaltsen Nyingtik, with a prayer. Guided by many wise and accomplished noble beings, you have followed and practiced the instructions of your teachers. You point out the supreme path of liberation to others without error. Peerless Guru, at your feet I humbly bow. What exceptional qualities did Patrul Rinpoche's guru possess? Guided by many learned and accomplished masters, Jigme Gyaltsen Nyingtik followed their instructions and put them into practice. Eventually, he developed the wisdom of selflessness and realized the true nature of all phenomena. Meanwhile, he pointed out the sublime path of liberation to fortunate beings without error. Patrul Rinpoche bowed with reverence at the feet of his peerless guru. As practitioners of later generations, we should always take refuge, prostrate, and make offerings to our root guru and all the lineage masters. While doing so, we can recite sadhanas, contemplate the great qualities of the masters, or pray to them. This will help us cultivate fervent faith and appreciation. This chapter discusses the benefits of liberation. So, what is liberation? It is to break free from the vast ocean of suffering known as samsara, and to attain the level of a shravaka, a pratyekabuddha, or perfect Buddhahood. According to Lama Tsongkhapa's three principal aspects of the path and other Buddhist scriptures, the sequential practice of renunciation, bodhicitta, and non-dual wisdom can uproot all mental defilements and eliminate all suffering in the three worlds. Of course, worldly people define liberation differently. They believe, for example, that getting out of jail is liberation. Recovering from illness is liberation, and overcoming difficulties is also liberation. However, these examples represent a form of pseudo-liberation, not true liberation. Only by eradicating all seeds of afflictions and the causes of suffering can we truly attain liberation. We must yearn for such liberation, otherwise we are not genuine practitioners. You must first have an intellectual understanding of the text of the words of my perfect teacher. Then contemplate its meaning and put the teachings into practice repeatedly. Otherwise, you may keep the teachings only on paper rather than in your mind. In such a case, you may feel something when reading the text or listening to the teaching, but once you leave the dharmic environment, your mind may immediately regress, which means your study may be quite ineffective. Each instruction from a great master, whether in the words of my perfect teacher or other teachings, can nourish our mind stream and bring us incredible blessings and benefits. However, because people have different dispositions, they derive varying benefits from the Dharma. For example, some individuals can completely eradicate their defilements through these texts and instructions, while others, even after years of studying the Dharma, struggle with their mental afflictions due to a lack of mindfulness and vigilance. Therefore, when you study the Dharma, even if you only listen to one class per day, ensure you derive something meaningful from it. For example, after listening to teachings on the principle of cause and effect, strive to recap what you have learned without needing anyone else to prompt you. You may reflect on the following questions. What is the chapter about? How do the stories and instructions assist me? What was my attitude toward the principle previously? How should I act in accordance with the principle moving forward? A wise person will consider how the teachings apply to themselves from various perspectives. This is an indispensable practice. In short, we must first understand what liberation is. Some Buddhists today claim to be in pursuit of liberation, but are they truly seeking the path to liberation? I will pose a significant question mark here. The causes for attaining liberation are twofold. First, we make our minds workable by contemplating the four thoughts that turn the mind away from samsara, beginning with the difficulty of finding the freedoms and advantages. Second, we engage in practices, starting with taking refuge, the foundation of all paths, and continuing with the practice of bodhicitta, Vajrasattva, mandala, and others, until we fully complete the main practice. The benefits of each practice are detailed in the relevant chapters. In fact, the practice of the four reflections or four thoughts, which include the difficulty of finding the freedoms and advantages, the impermanence of life, the defects of samsara, and the principle of cause and effect, serves as the foundation for all practices. It enables one to cultivate genuine renunciation. Without this foundation, progress in other practices becomes limited. Even if you have advanced to the practice of high teachings, such as the Great Perfection, Mahamudra, Yamantaka, or the Great Middle Way, the practice itself merely acts as a cause for benefiting this present life. Causes leading to benefits in this life, as opposed to causes that lead to liberation in future lives, differ significantly. Therefore, an experienced teacher will urge his disciples to first renounce this life by practicing the four common preliminaries. Otherwise, their practice will lack stability and their state of practice will not last. Upon this foundation, the teacher will instruct his disciples to further study and practice each uncommon preliminary. By doing so, the disciples will create the causes for liberation. The words of my perfect teacher contains a complete and thorough explanation of the causes that lead to liberation. If we can understand how to abandon vices and adopt virtues as explained in the text, genuinely refrain from wrongdoing, and joyfully engage in positive actions, we will experience happiness in this life and certainly attain liberation in the future life. The Sutra of the Right Mindfulness of Dharma states, if a person refrains from misdeeds and engages in good deeds with a joyful attitude, this person is always happy in this life and will definitely attain nirvana, the fruition of liberation. Therefore, you must understand the importance of the preliminaries, which I have explained in detail in previous classes. I believe you will pay more attention to this, otherwise your practice will not succeed. However, many people remain unwilling to practice the four common preliminaries. Instead, they are interested in practicing qigong or yoga, or meditating on a bindu, a Buddha statue, or a seed syllable. In fact, those practices are not difficult, but if you aspire to become a true Dharma practitioner, you must cultivate conviction about the four thoughts, the difficulty of finding the freedoms and advantages, the impermanence of life, the defects of samsara, and the principle of cause and effect. Otherwise, whatever you practice will lack a solid foundation and will not endure. Therefore, you must strive to practice the common preliminaries. Whether one achieves the state of a shravaka, a pratyekabuddha, or Buddhahood, the result is peace and tranquility, free from the perilous cycles of samsaric suffering. How truly joyful it is. Having chosen the Mahayana path above all others, all practices, whether involving the 10 virtuous actions, the 4 immeasurables, the 6 paramitas, the 4 concentrations, the 4 formless states, calm abiding shamatha, or profound insight, vipassana, must be undertaken with the singular aim of attaining perfect Buddhahood. These practices should be carried out in accordance with the 3 supreme methods. First, cultivating bodhicitta as the preparatory motivation. Second, maintaining a state free from conceptual elaboration during the main practice. And third, concluding by dedicating the merits for the benefit of all beings. No matter what one is doing, an antecedent cause leads to a subsequent result. Similarly, you are all in pursuit of liberation. Therefore, if you have the aforementioned causes leading to liberation, you will undoubtedly attain the result of liberation. To achieve this result, we must begin by practicing renunciation and developing the conviction that all emotions are suffering, all conditioned phenomena are impermanent, and the tranquility of no self is eternal happiness. Master Yi Jing of the Tang dynasty translated a very short sutra titled The Questions of the Naga King Sagara. In part, the sutra states, once the Buddha was teaching the Dharma to 1,250 monks and many bodhisattvas in the Naga's palace. The Naga king asked, "Is there a Dharma that is simple, yet encompasses everything?" The Buddha answered, "There is a teaching on the four supreme Dharmas. If one can recite it, grasp its meaning, and put it into practice, it is equivalent to reciting all 84,000 teachings." What are the four supreme Dharmas? All conditioned phenomena are impermanent. All tainted things are suffering. All phenomena are devoid of self. Nirvana is beyond extremes. These are the four Dharma seals to which we often refer. If you don't have time to recite long scriptures, I believe it should pose no problem for you to read this verse once every day. The Buddha said it is the quintessence of his 84,000 teachings. It is essential that you incorporate this verse into your daily prayers, reciting and contemplating it often. All phenomena are impermanent. All emotions are suffering. When I attain the state devoid of self, I can achieve peaceful and blissful nirvana. In fact, peace and bliss are the result of liberation, which is the ultimate goal of all living beings in the three worlds. By performing good deeds with the attitude of bodhicitta, we can ultimately attain this supreme result. So please don't lose sight of the true aim of liberation. Otherwise, no matter how diligently you practice, it will be in vain. This concludes Chapter 5, The Benefits of Liberation. There is no sutra, tantra, or sastra that mentions any being ever attaining perfect Buddhahood without having followed a spiritual teacher. Even Buddha Shakyamuni manifested that he had followed the great sage of Shakya in one of his past lives and listened to teachings from various teachers in different places before eventually attaining perfect enlightenment. It is clear that no one has ever achieved the realizations belonging to the 10 stages and 5 paths through their own ingenuity and prowess. All great accomplished practitioners, whether from India, the Tibetan region, or the Han region of China, attained realization of the nature of all phenomena because they followed and served qualified teachers. The Flower Ornament Sutra states, "In the Dharma realms of the 10 directions, all the Buddha's teachings can be accessed through serving a qualified teacher." Some uninformed individuals claim only Tibetan Buddhism places great importance on the teacher and even regards the teacher as the Buddha. They often cite the life stories of Milarepa and other masters to support their argument. In doing so, they carelessly promote their wrong views, which may mislead inexperienced individuals and lead them astray. In reality, these individuals have neither studied the sutras and shastras nor grasped the true meaning of the Buddha's teachings. They have merely heard a few words and then misinterpreted them out of context. In many sutras, the Buddha stated that after his parinirvana, he would appear as spiritual teachers to benefit countless living beings during the degenerate age. The Buddha said in the Sutra of the Great Drum, "Don't feel sad, Ananda. Don't lament, Ananda. In future times I will take the form of spiritual teachers to help you and others." Therefore, this view is not exclusive to Tibetan Buddhism. The Mahaparinirvana Sutra also states, "I will also manifest myself in Jambudvipa as learned teachers and teach the naive and ignorant to enter the true Dharma." From this scriptural evidence, we can see that the Buddha will appear as spiritual teachers in this world to liberate living beings. Without following a qualified teacher, no matter how intelligent or hardworking you are, you won't even fully understand the terms and practices in the words of my perfect teacher, let alone attain the qualities of the 5 paths and 10 stages. Some Dharma friends were quite arrogant believing they could attain Buddhahood through self-study. However, due to their lack of guidance from a qualified teacher, they ended up wasting their time and achieving nothing. Therefore, following a qualified teacher is extremely important in Buddhism. Without guidance from a teacher, it is impossible for a person to see their innate Buddha nature. The Mahaparinirvana Sutra says, by not being able to get close to a good spiritual advisor, despite the fact that each of them has Buddha nature, they cannot see it. Therefore, if you want to assimilate the profound Dharma, you must rely on a qualified teacher. The Flower Ornament Sutra says, to achieve omniscience, one must be determined to follow an authentic qualified teacher and see the qualified teachers as Buddhas, and the Buddhas are pleased with those who put the instructions of qualified teachers into practice. Those who follow the words of qualified teachers are close to omniscience. There are many such scriptural references in the sutras. Of course, if you don't pursue the Dharma, that's a different matter. There are many non-Buddhists in this world, including Lokayatikas who are nihilists, and those who believe in Ishvara, meaning a god, supreme being, and the like. Their religions don't require reliance on a teacher. Currently, some people excessively emphasize the notion of equality. In their opinion, teachers and students should be considered equal, as should fathers and sons, gold and stone, and even gurus and disciples. If this were true, there would be no distinction between good and bad in the world. However, I believe that, from the perspective of relative truth, distinctions must still be made. Therefore, this view of equality should not deceive or confuse us, and we must first acknowledge that it is especially crucial to follow a qualified teacher. All sentient beings, including ourselves, have been highly adept at committing negative deeds and have mastered every aspect of it since time without beginning. However, when it comes to following the path that leads to liberation and completely perfect enlightenment, we are as confused as a blind person wandering alone in the middle of a deserted plain. The Sutra of the Great Assembly states, due to the delusions of the mind, sentient beings are trapped in the river of life and death. It's just like the blind who, due to loss of sight, are constantly consumed by challenges. For ordinary people like us, navigating the path to liberation without the guidance of a spiritual teacher is like trying to reach a treasure-filled island without the help of an experienced navigator. Without following a qualified teacher, the day of our liberation remains distant and elusive. Thus, anyone who aspires to attain ultimate liberation must wholeheartedly and respectfully follow a qualified spiritual teacher. This is accomplished in 3 phases. First, by examining the teacher, then by following them, and finally, by emulating their realization and actions. Most of us, as ordinary individuals, are easily influenced by the people and situations around us. Therefore, it is essential to seek guidance from a qualified spiritual teacher. In the sandalwood forests of the Malaya Mountains, when an ordinary tree falls, its wood gradually absorbs the fragrant scent of the surrounding sandalwood trees. Over time, the once ordinary wood begins to exude the same aroma as sandalwood. Similarly, if we live and study alongside a perfect teacher with great qualities, we will gradually be infused with those qualities. Eventually, our actions and character will naturally reflect the teachers, just as ordinary wood comes to resemble sandalwood in fragrance. Jigme Lingpa said in The Treasury of Precious Qualities, just as an ordinary piece of wood lying in the forests of the Malaya Mountains absorbs the sandal fragrance from the moist leaves and branches, so too does one who follows a teacher resemble them. Of course, if a practitioner wants to emulate the teacher's realization and actions, the longer they follow the teacher, the better. It is hardly possible for them to attain realization after following the teacher for only 1 or 2 days. Some Dharma students act as if they are collecting Dharma stamps. They receive an empowerment or transmission today and return to their 9-to-5 jobs tomorrow without reviewing or practicing what they have received. They naively believe they are all set with the Dharma stamps collected from the teacher. It is possible for a Dharma student to quickly attain the supreme state of realization if the teacher possesses impeccable powers of blessing, and the student has a close karmic connection with the teacher from past lives, as well as extraordinary faith. There are many stories of such awakenings in the past. Nevertheless, most of us are simply ordinary practitioners, so it is better to follow a teacher for as long as possible. Here is a story about the importance of avoiding harmful friends and following a qualified teacher from the Sutra on the Great Departure. After Nanda received ordination, he still showed no interest in the life of a bhikkhu, despite the Buddha's repeated urging. Instead, he befriended misbehaving bhikkhus and engaged in idle talk and gossip all day long. One day, the Buddha brought Nanda to a fish market and asked him to pick up a handful of straw that had been placed among more than 100 rotten, stinky fish. The Buddha instructed Nanda to hold the straw in his hand for a while and then throw it away. The Buddha asked, "Do you smell something in your hand, Nanda?" Nanda replied, "Yes, teacher. It smells very strongly of fish. It is quite unpleasant." "Well, it is the same when you associate with unqualified teachers and harmful friends," the Buddha said. "Even if you don't spend too long with them, you will still be tainted by their negative influences. You will adopt bad habits and become notorious." Then the Buddha took Nanda to an incense shop and asked him to hold an incense bag in his hand for a while before setting it aside. The Buddha asked, "Do you smell something in your hand, Nanda?" Nanda replied, "Yes, teacher. It has a pleasant aroma." "Well, it is the same when you are close to qualified teachers and friends," the Buddha said. "If you rely on a perfect teacher full of good qualities, you will be infused with the fragrance of those qualities. You will cultivate those precious qualities within yourself and become renowned." Some practitioners who are not diligent in their practice have a particular fondness for listening to pop music. When their Dharma peers occasionally visit their homes for a meal and hear those worldly songs, they can easily be influenced by this negative habit thereafter. Sometimes I pass by certain Dharma friends' cabins and feel sad for them. Why? Because they are still listening to pop songs. It is acceptable if a layperson does so because they haven't renounced their worldly life. But those Dharma friends have renounced their mundane lives and been ordained, yet they still listen to those songs every day from a radio or stereo. What's the point? It would be better for them to enjoy the Dharma instead. However, some individuals still cling to strong worldly habits, so even if they have been ordained and heard many profound teachings, their minds have barely changed. On the surface, they appear to be serene monastics who inspire confidence in others, but internally, they are deeply dissatisfied with themselves. They are the types of practitioners who are ripe on the outside, but unripe on the inside, as mentioned in Nagarjuna's letter to a friend. In fact, this is what is described in the old saying, "What's near cinnabar turns red, and what's next to ink turns black." Regardless of who we are, we can easily be influenced by external circumstances. When we come into contact with a good or bad friend, it is highly likely that we will change significantly, no matter how brief the encounter, whether it lasts one day or 1 month. Some scriptures state that even a realized bodhisattva, a sublime being who has attained one of the 10 stages of the bodhisattva path, can also be influenced by their environment and evil friends. Therefore, ordinary people must pay extra attention to this danger. Because it is crucial to follow a teacher, you should first examine them before making your decision to follow them. Otherwise, during this degenerate age, it can be very dangerous to rely on a teacher whom you don't truly know. I once met someone who received empowerment from a teacher he only knew by name. The person replied, "Not at all, but others went to the empowerment and so did I. I received quite a few empowerments. Oh, I am so happy. How splendid. The teacher is so kind." I asked, "What great qualities does the teacher possess?" He responded, "Well, I just feel he is very kind. His appearance attracts me." He believed this was the quality a teacher should have. How hasty he was in examining a teacher. In this degenerate age, it has become rare to encounter a teacher who embodies all the qualities outlined in the Tantras. Nevertheless, it is essential that the teacher we choose to follow possesses at least the following qualities. 1. Pure observance of the 3 types of precepts. The teacher should uphold the pure precepts, having never broken any of the commitments or prohibitions related to the 3 types of precepts: the outer precepts of individual liberation, the inner precepts of the bodhisattva vows, and the secret samaya vows. If the teacher is an ordained monastic, at least they should uphold the precepts of individual liberation specific to ordained practitioners. If the teacher is a householder, they should uphold the complete 5 precepts for lay people, as the great Jigme Punsak Rinpoche mentioned. If no vows are upheld, any great qualities or states of realization would lack foundation. During this degenerate age, even if a teacher cannot meticulously uphold every single item on the list of precepts of individual liberation, the bodhisattva vows, and the samaya vows, they must at least uphold the root precepts with the attitude of bodhicitta, or at the very least, renunciation. They must not commit any root downfalls of the 3 types of precepts. 2. Being learned. The teacher should be learned and not lacking in knowledge of the sutras, shastras, and tantras. If the teacher lacks dharma education and knows little, for example, they know few Buddhist scriptures, let alone study them in depth, this is definitely not a good teacher to follow. The teacher should master the knowledge of sutras, shastras, and tantras, including the 5 great treatises in Sutrayana, the Guhya Garbha Tantra, and instructions on the great perfection in Vajrayana, if the teacher is from the Nyingma lineage. 3. Great compassion. The teacher's heart should be filled with such deep compassion toward all beings that they love each one as if they were their own child. This is impartial compassion for all beings. It is not appropriate for the teacher to show love and care for their family and friends while ignoring and despising someone with whom they had a conflict. A teacher who acts in such a discriminatory manner lacks both worldly compassion and kindness, not to mention the great compassion and bodhicitta of Mahayana Buddhism. 4. Skilled in ritual practices of the Tripitaka and Tantras. The teacher should be well versed in ritual practices, including the outer Tripitaka and the inner 4 sections of the Tantras. The teacher is well versed due to their Dharma education and practical experience. If a teacher only talks about the teachings, yet never puts their meaning into practice, it is impossible for them to guide Dharma students. 5. Having attained freedom and realization, the teacher should have followed their own teacher's practical instructions and the teachings in sutras, shastras, and tantras, and practiced diligently. As a result, this teacher has actualized all the extraordinary achievements of freedom and realization. They have cleared their afflictions and obscurations and realized the ultimate nature of emptiness. At a minimum, even if the teacher hasn't realized emptiness, they should at least be capable of transforming or suppressing afflictions and attaining certain states of realization. Otherwise, if Dharma students are faithful and experienced in their practice, while the teacher is clinging to the 8 worldly concerns and cannot exceed the students in diligence and precious qualities, it is truly laughable. 6. Possessing the following 4 ways of attracting beings. First, The teacher should be generous. They should benefit beings through the generosity of giving material items and offering the Dharma. Second, the teacher's language should be pleasant. The teacher delivers the Buddha's teachings so that living beings are willing to accept and follow the teachings. Some people think pleasant language refers to speech that caters to Dharma students' preferences, but this is not necessarily so. For example, if the Dharma student likes anger-inducing situations, it would not be helpful for the teacher to tell that student war stories. According to the ornament of the Great Vehicle Sutras, pleasant language refers to instructions related to Dharma practice. Third, the teacher should teach each individual according to that person's needs. Through this way of attracting beings, the teacher can bring true benefits to Dharma students and transform their minds. The teacher should genuinely care about the students' needs. The so-called care that worldly people refer to includes giving wealth or praise or maintaining frequent communication. However, here, a caring teacher encourages Dharma students to cultivate the 6 perfections, which, unlike worldly care, can truly provide ultimate benefits to the students. Fourth, the teacher should act in conformity with what they teach. The teacher gives practice instructions to Dharma students and should walk the talk. It doesn't make sense if the teacher only talks the talk. For instance, if a teacher tells students, "You must practice no self and bodhicitta. Make sure you don't become lazy and sluggish," while the teacher sleeps until noon, never practices no self, and rarely considers freeing all living beings from suffering. Jigme Lingpa summarizes the above qualities in the Treasury of Precious Qualities. One who perfectly possesses all great qualities is hard to find in this degenerate era. Such a teacher stands on the ground of pure observance of the 3 precepts, with a mind stream nourished by vast learning and great compassion. They are well versed in the vast ocean of ritual practices from both the sutras and tantras, and rich in the fruit, the pristine wisdom attained through freedom and realization. Adorned with the blossoming flowers of the 4 ways of attraction, they naturally attract fortunate disciples who are like bees. The ornament of the Great Vehicle Sutras also suggests 10 qualities of a teacher, which are summarized in one stanza. One should serve a spiritual friend who is disciplined, tranquil, serene, outstanding in good qualities, energetic, rich in knowledge of scripture, awakened to reality, skilled in speech, compassionate, and indefatigable. When I first followed the great Jigme Punsok Rinpoche on a pilgrimage to the sacred Mount Wutai in China's Shaanxi province in 1987, I placed the page containing this stanza in my scripture folder and read it from time to time. The great Jigme Punsok Rinpoche often cited this stanza in his teachings. The 10 qualities are stated as follows. 1. Disciplined. This quality corresponds to the observance of precepts. It means that the teacher is able to discipline all of their sensory faculties to prevent them from being influenced by external temptations and distractions. Thus, they can take control of their body, speech, and mind through mindfulness and vigilance. If a teacher cannot tame their own mind, often appears ill-mannered, and succumbs to self-indulgence, it is hardly possible for them to properly guide their Dharma students. Tranquil. This quality corresponds to meditative concentration. The teacher's mind is internally quieted. Thus, like the bhikkhus described in the Vinaya texts, the teacher behaves in an impressive and dignified manner, which naturally generates faith among their students. 3. Serene. This quality corresponds to the discipline of wisdom. The teacher has eradicated their afflictions and cut off all unwholesome actions. 4. Outstanding in good qualities. The teacher's qualities and states of realization far exceed those of the students. If they are equal to or even inferior to their students, it is likely that students will refuse to obey the teacher. 5. Energetic. The teacher is not indifferent to benefiting living beings. Instead, they always diligently strive to do their best. Some teachers stop practicing the Dharma diligently after they've gained status, as if they have attained Buddhahood. This is similar to some graduates of worldly schools. They studied hard at school, yet when they received accreditation and began to work, they became lazy after attaining a certain social status. A teacher shouldn't be like this. They must benefit sentient beings with perseverance and diligence. 6. Rich in scripture. The teacher is well versed in Mahayana and Vajrayana teachings. 7. Awakened to reality. The teacher has realized no self and emptiness and recognized the nature of reality. 8. Skilled in speech. The teacher is adept at teaching the Dharma. 9. Compassionate. The teacher has deep and vast compassion. They are free from greed for material possessions and fame. All they care about is teaching the authentic Dharma to students. Of course, their compassion is not about earnestly reminding their students, do eat well, do dress warmly, do sleep tight. Their compassion is to sow the seed of liberation in the students and to benefit them with the Dharma. 10. Indefatigable. The teacher is not weary from benefiting living beings. They teach the Dharma continuously and diligently. Specifically, regarding the profound teachings on the essence of the Vajrayana pith instructions, the type of Vajra guru one should rely upon is described as follows, in accordance with the sacred tantras. 1. Having been brought to maturity through empowerments. The Vajra guru must have been brought to maturity through a series of empowerments, transmitted through an unbroken and continuous lineage. It is not sufficient for the Vajra guru to have merely received these empowerments. The empowerments must also be bestowed impeccably, with all the necessary causes and conditions present. 2. Having kept the samayas. The Vajra guru should not have transgressed the samaya vows they committed to uphold at the time of empowerment. Different tantras require different vows, such as the 14 root downfalls or the 5 root vows in the Guhyagarbha Tantra. 3. Being peaceful. The Vajra guru should be calm, peaceful, and disciplined, free from the turmoil of negative emotions and thoughts. A person ensnared by mental afflictions and conceptual thoughts is certainly not qualified to be a Vajra guru. 4. Having mastered tantras. The Vajra guru should possess complete mastery over the profound meanings of the ground, path, and fruition as presented in the tantras of Vajrayana Buddhism. Otherwise, how can the teacher appropriately deliver tantric teachings to disciples? 5. Having perfected the practices of the generation and perfection stages, the Vajra guru should have attained all the signs of success in the generation and perfection stages of practice, such as having a vision of the deity. At the very least, the Vajra guru should have had visions of the deity in dreams or inner experiences, even if they do not have a direct vision. Additionally, the Vajra guru must have perfected the accumulation of the deity's mantra practice and achieved all the signs of success regarding the deity practice. Therefore, it is not easy to find a guru qualified to offer tantric teachings or empowerment. Sometimes I provide guidance in tantric practice, which makes me quite embarrassed. I have repeatedly stated that my teaching is merely planting virtuous seeds in you and passing on the transmissions. I lack any of the listed qualities, let alone all of them. Not only do I not possess the qualities of a Vajra guru, but I am also not even qualified to be a Vajra student. As stated in the precious treasury of pith instructions, it is absurd that one who is not even qualified as a disciple wishes to be a teacher. Being freed by realization. Having directly realized and experienced that the nature of all phenomena is emptiness, the Vajra guru should have attained the no-self experience and achieved liberation. 7. Having great compassion and caring only for the benefit of others. The Vajraguru should dedicate themselves entirely to the well-being of others, with a heart filled with great compassion. They focus solely on benefiting others, never prioritizing their own personal gain. 8. Having few worldly activities. The Vajraguru should have few worldly concerns, as they have renounced any attachment to the ordinary things of this life. Of course, it is permissible for some teachers to utilize ordinary things to propagate the Dharma and benefit beings. Biographies of renowned masters show that they did not avoid ordinary matters that were indispensable to their Dharma activities. Some staff members at Larungar complain about managing too many trivial details throughout the day. However, consider this. Your engagement with those minor details can be quite meaningful if they pertain to activities that benefit living beings. If the details revolve around your own daily meals, drinks, and indulgences, such as what will I eat for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, and you even find yourself planning your meals in your dreams, then they hold little significance. Conversely, if you are a volunteer at the staff restaurant planning meals for Dharma friends, it is an entirely different matter. 9. Focusing solely on diligent practice. Concentrating on future lives, the Vajraguru's unwavering commitment is solely dedicated to the diligent practice of the Dharma. The Vajraguru practices diligently for future lives, having generated renunciation through practicing the 4 thoughts that turn the mind. 10. Being weary of this world. Recognizing that samsara is filled with only suffering, the Vajraguru should feel deep sadness and strive to inspire a similar sense of sorrow in others. For example, realized masters such as Longchen Patrul Rinpoche, Mipam Rinpoche, and many great masters from the Han areas of China shared their feelings and reflections on the meaninglessness of samsara once they had achieved certain levels of realization. 11. Being skilled in caring for disciples. The Vajraguru should be adept at caring for their disciples using the appropriate methods, whether through speech or action, tailored to each individual. The Vajraguru should skillfully guide and benefit others by presenting themselves in ways that resonate with each person. 12. Having the blessings of the lineage. By faithfully following all of the teacher's instructions without ever considering disobedience, the blessings of the lineage have permeated the Vajraguru's own being. With such incredible blessings, their teaching possesses extraordinary power that can inspire and transform their disciples. Jigme Lingpa summarizes these 12 qualities in the Treasury of Precious Qualities. The teacher who offers the pith instructions has received empowerments, upheld pure samayas, and is peaceful, has mastered the meaning of the ground, path, and fruition in tantras, has all the signs of success in the practice of the generation and perfection stages, and is freed by realization, has boundless compassion and cares only for the benefit of others, has few worldly activities and focuses solely on diligent practice, is weary of this world and guides others to feel the same, is skilled in methods and has the blessings of the lineage. By following such a teacher, one can attain accomplishment swiftly. If you can't remember all the qualities listed above, you may simply remember the 3 key points summarized by Gampopa. 1. Having let go of attachment to this life. 2. Possessing great wisdom to guide disciples on the path. 3. Having great compassion to never abandon disciples. In summary, these qualities encompass renouncing this life and embodying great wisdom and compassion. Disciples can follow a teacher who possesses these 3 qualities. In short, before following a teacher, especially a Vajraguru, we must examine them carefully. If the teacher lacks these qualities, it may not be beneficial for you to receive empowerment and tantric teachings from them. Therefore, it is crucial to examine a teacher before committing to follow them.